Welcome to the Gigless Podcast, a podcast showcasing the works and talents of those who lost their gigs due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This podcast will feature a range of creatives from the tri-state area who are young visionaries and who contribute to their craft despite the recent events that have happened. Join us today as our host Remi Leibovic speaks with Cherie, the singer-songwriter from Woodbridge, New Jersey, who has worked with notable New Jersey artists such as Lead Me to the Forest and The Shore. Recently, Miss Cherie released an EP entitled Seasons in 2018. Enjoy today's episode.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Gigless. This is our third episode, and we are hosting the wonderful Melissa Cherie. Is that how you say your name?
Yes, Cherie. Yep.
Cherie. Okay. It's
Thank
a French
you.
last name, right?
Yes. I'm not even French.
Well, you know. So Gigless is a podcast that focuses on recording how everybody lost their gigs due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And right now we are talking with Melissa Cherie, and she is a musician, a performer, an entertainer. She has an academic background in music and in music production. So she's going to take it away. Start with telling us a little bit about your music background.
Yes. Hi. So I have a classical background in music. When I was 6, I started taking classical piano lessons, and so I basically did classical for, I don't know, until I was like 16, and I started to take it really, really seriously. And then after that, I went to Bergen, and I started studying music business, and I started songwriting, and I was in a band called Telltale Heart for like a year with like my friend, and it was just like, you know, for fun and stuff. And eventually I decided to set out on my own as a solo artist, and then I went to Willie P, and now I'm here.
And now you're here. Where's here for our audience to know?
My bedroom. No, just kidding.
So let's talk about how you got to that. So what is your usual gig that was affected by this pandemic?
So I work as a professional music tutor at Bergen, where like I mentioned, I went to school there. I went to school there with Remi. And
Bergen Community College, for
Bergen
context.
Community College, yay! Bergen Community College, and I tutor music theory, piano, ear training, you know, and just like all sorts of like I said, that like the oral music, like oral meaning like listening skills as well. And I would tutor there, and so that, you know, I'm basically laid off. They're trying to set it up online, which is nice, so that, you know, maybe I'll get a couple students online. I also teach piano privately from my house, and I had to put all my lessons on hold. I also had 2 shows canceled. I was going to play April 3rd at Boon Tunes in Booton, and I was going to play April 9th at Debonair Music Hall with the bands Wishbone, really fucking good, Jerry at the Beach, again, really fucking good, and this guy named Omar Kaba, who's an amazing R&B vocalist. And it was going to be such a good show, and we had to cancel those. And this past Sunday, we were supposed to do a live session at a local studio called Big and Tall Studio in Woodbridge, New Jersey. And that got
in
canceled.
Woodbridge?
Yes, where I'm from.
Ah.
Yep. Shout out to Big and Tall. They're really awesome. And basically, that all had to be canceled.
Yeah, it's had an impact. So where has your craft taken you besides, you know, just having these professional gigs? Where has it taken you in terms of, you know, emotion or development as a person? Could you tell me more about that?
Like my craft, as in my music and stuff?
Yes.
Sure. Well, I basically write from, I consider myself that I write music from like a point of necessity. Like I feel like sometimes like when things happen in your life, you can't really process them, and like they're just very difficult to process, and so I basically use music to do that. And you know, I also just love getting together with my band and jamming with them, and that's literally the highlight of my week. And the past 2 months we've really picked up a lot of momentum. We played a show at this place called the Hideout in Clifton, and we were really picking up momentum with getting shows and just getting all these things, and it was great. And then like, I started to get itchy, like if I'm not playing with them for too long. And so it's lame that like, whatever, like I can't play with them until this blows over.
So how are you adjusting? How are you in this band and these different music projects that you're in? How are you adjusting to not being able to play every week? Are you guys doing Zoom calls? How are you guys keeping that momentum up?
Well, so we're not doing Zoom calls because I feel like to do like live music and try to do it collaborative, because on the computer, on the cell phone, whatever, there's always like that like 1 second lag. So, and it's also like we have nothing coming up anymore. So we don't really have anything. Yeah. So that sucks. But I'm trying to think about doing some live streaming. Oh, tonight at 7:00, which I'm not sure when this is going to get posted, but if it gets posted today's Tuesday. Tonight at 7:00 at Inglewood Live.
So I believe that you'll be posted later this week. It's Tuesday, March 24th.
Yes.
But this is going to be posted later this week. But you guys can follow Melissa. We're going to put her contact information in the show notes. You guys can follow Melissa because I know that Melissa goes live and it's always a pleasant experience.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Going live tonight. It's the Inglewood Library because one of my good friends is a librarian there. And it's going to be like a live open mic. So like I'm going to be co-hosting it, but anyone can jump on and play.
Yeah, that's an excellent way of making use of your time, especially now with everyone socially distancing.
Yes.
And for our listeners, again, we are recording this whole podcast over Zoom. Mm-hmm. And I just, so let's go backtrack a little bit. Where did you start playing music? Like, what was your first instrument? Where did you end up going with it? And did you take on more instruments? I know that you're a really big piano person.
Yes. So when I was always musical. One of my first musical memories was being 4, seeing The Lion King, and like putting on a concert for my grandparents. I'm like, they need to hear this Elton John song, and my grandma had a piano in her house, and she tried to learn, and she had some weird Russian guy teacher, and it wasn't working out for her. And she had all the books there, and they were all like kiddie types of books. And so one day I think I just started fiddling around, and she noticed that I was playing like, a couple of notes. And I started just like reading some of the notes on my own, and then she put me in lessons, and I took piano lessons until I was like 17, and I started taking it really, really seriously. But then I started, getting into, rock music, indie music, punk music, and stuff like that. And I eventually picked up the guitar.
So how are you coping mentally and emotionally with this whole pandemic?
Honestly, like the first couple of days, we're like, okay, this sucks. And then a couple of days, and it's like, you know what? Like, yeah, maybe I'm just like, I'm taking this time to be introverted and chill out and do stuff. And then, I've been going to bed at like 2 a.m. consistently, which isn't good, but
Actually, same. I've reverted back to my art. It's very strange, but I've reverted back to my in school during thesis hours. Like I will go to bed at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. and then I'll just wake up at like 9 and then just start the day. I know that that's not healthy.
I know.
But
but it's just, what we're all doing.
I don't know. I'm just, because I've been getting more back into drawing, back into, my craft. Mm-hmm. And I feel as a musician, do you have, because now everybody has so much time. Yes. Are you like looking for more artists now? Because now you have all the time to listen to more music and more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially like, I feel like this is a time where it's like all the local artists I've like neglected to click on or check out. Like this is a great time to just check all of them out. Yeah.
Who's some local artists that you want to shout out?
I want to shout out David Cabasa. I want to shout out Cherie at the Beach. I want to shout out Hannah Comia. Rachel Miller. Yeah. This is raw art, guys.
Raw art, exactly. And so as someone who teaches music, how are you planning to utilize technology in any other way? Are you planning to, do online lessons? Because I've been seeing a lot of people give online lessons now.
Right. To be honest with you, I don't foresee myself giving like virtual piano lessons. I know I've seen some people doing that, and I'm very curious to how they're doing it, but I feel like unless they have like a third person in the room like holding up the camera for them, because it's like I'm just curious to how they're doing it, because it's like I need to see your hands as a teacher. I need to see the hands, I have to see the music, I have to see like all of that stuff. So you can't be holding the phone. But I'm totally open to giving like music theory lessons for super cheap. I know school is going to be resuming online, like classes and stuff. I'm totally open to like tutoring theory, or just ear training, or just, I don't know, anything anyone needs. Bergen is trying to set up this thing where students can still get tutoring on this weird website. I forgot what it's called, but we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, and I definitely want to ask you more about, so you're trying to push the teaching element with music theory and with, different ways to try to tutor, but is there any other art forms that you're trying to express yourself with?
Aside from music?
Yes.
Oh, well,
aside from music.
Oh, I actually love to draw. I sew, like, this is a time where I just get like super bored with like my clothes and stuff, and this is a time where we can't really go shopping. So I love to like upcycle and like DIY like my own clothes and stuff. It's like a hobby of mine.
Oh, that's excellent. I never knew that about you.
Yeah, I don't like share it.
That's so great.
But yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
But now you're sharing it on Gigless.
Now I'm sharing it. Yep.
But yeah, no, upcycling is definitely a very important sustainable practice that we all need to start getting more into. But I don't know, do you wear any of the clothes that you upcycle, do you wear any of those to the show? Do you, like, Absolutely. In a regular performance?
I was actually working. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I was actually working on this dress that I got from like the Macy's like last act rack, and it was like 3 sizes too big, and it was like $10. And so I got that, and I was actually working on that to wear to like, some of my gigs, or like to the video that was supposed to be last Sunday.
Wow.
It's actually over there. What was working
on.
Oh
wow.
That.
So she just showed it to me. It's a very nice navy blue color, purple color.
It's like
some suede.
Yeah, it's like a velvety. I'll show you again. It's like a velvety blue dress.
Oh, very nice.
And then there's like my Bergen tag over there.
So walk our audience through what a typical gig is for you. Like, how does it start? Like, what's the process? Where are they usually at?
Sure. So mostly before everything in life got canceled, I was on like a really cool flow where I would go to work at Bergen, I would have band practice, and then like do lessons throughout the week. And I didn't really have to approach anyone for any of the gigs lined up. Like they just kind of like came to me, just like miraculously, like they were just like given to me. And yeah, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Oh no, just so that's great that people, because that just shows like how respected that you are and talented that you are. So what does a typical gig look like? Like, is it do you play at live restaurants? Do you play at venues? What's the typical setup?
So
how many songs?
Oh, I got it. I see. So yeah, usually like a bar or like a venue type place. Like Debonair is like a venue. Boon Tunes is a venue. We played at the Hideout, which is like a bar and a grill with a stage, which is really cool. And we usually rehearse for like, I don't know, maybe like a month beforehand, and play like somewhere between like 5 and 6 songs, and maybe throw in like a cover or something, and
Yeah. So you're North Jersey based, right?
Yes.
Are there any plans after we get through this whole virus? Are there any plans for the future when it comes to maybe expanding into other areas like New York or upstate New York or South and Central Jersey?
Right. Well, the gig that we were supposed to have at Boone Tunes, before it was at Boone Tunes, it was supposed to be in Rutgers, New Brunswick area. At this place, yeah, like this place called the Bath House, and I've like never been there. I heard it's super cool. You were just telling me before the interview started how cool it was. That there was a lot of cool shows, but yeah, so it was supposed to be down there, but yeah, we were looking to expand there. And like maybe New York City, we were talking about like Rockwood Music Hall at some point or Sanger Hall in Queens, just expanding, or even Boone Tunes would be expanding for us because that's going like more west.
Yeah, that's going more towards Central Jersey on that 287.
Yes.
All the way down. But yeah, and so I'm glad that you have this optimistic viewpoint, at least from what it's sounding like. You have this optimistic viewpoint.
Obviously, like there's still anxiety. Like last night I was having such horrible catastrophic thinking at 2 a.m, of course, because that's when there's no rational thinking at 2 a.m. But
I cried at 1. I'm not gonna lie. I cried at 1. I was watching RuPaul. I was watching RuPaul's Drag Race, and I was just like, really, it hit me.
Oh no. Yeah, I feel like this week is starting to get. Well, it's been starting to get real, but I think like last night it just really hit me. Like this is like this feels kind of apocalyptic. It's not, and you know what? I think people should stay calm. And as much as I am disappointed that my gigs got canceled, it's necessary, and it's like the only thing that's going to really help the virus. And like it's serious. Like I don't want to catch corona, and I don't want to give corona to anybody else who's vulnerable. I live with my grandparents, and so that was a big thing. And that was a big thing going into the factor of like my band deciding like, okay, we're not going to rehearse anymore at my house because that's where we rehearse. And it's like because I live with 2 people who are over 70 years old.
Yeah, they're immune compromised for sure.
Yeah, so they're like a part of that vulnerable group.
Yeah, and so what was it on a family note then when this thing hit, if you don't mind me asking?
So my grandma was super anxious. And my grandfather, he's been going out, and my grandfather's like addicted to buying groceries. He loves going shopping for groceries. And so he definitely has to take a lot of precautions when he goes out and like buys food for the family. And my brother, I think, was a little bit, I don't want to say in denial of how bad it was, but he was just kind of like very lax about it in the beginning. And then it started to get like really real. He was dorming at William Paterson, and he had to leave the dorm. His stuff is still there, so we have to go back and get that. And we're just taking any precautions we can. I think people need to also like wipe down surfaces like doorknobs, refrigerator handles, like little things like that, and just like don't touch anything. Don't go out unless it's completely necessary.
Yeah, and today at least we're receiving word that if you have any medical masks, that a lot of all the nursing people that I know are posting don't wear your masks, because if you've been exposed and you don't know, you're actually keeping those mucous membranes within your mask.
Right.
Because
and like,
then they know that they're going into an exposure zone, so they can remove and they can time their masks where everybody else can't really time their masks.
Right. Right. And also like the hospitals, they need them. Like the everyday person, I feel like we don't really need masks that much. You just social distancing and whatnot. Just basic hygiene.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about some musicians that are also really getting into this whole social distancing music. The Italians in Italy and the Spaniards in Spain, how they're playing music from the balconies. Have you experienced any of that? Because I know that you live in, suburbia.
I do.
Bergen County. Have you gone outside and just blasted guitar or piano or anything like that?
Earlier, before you called, I was like actually outside just playing guitar, and like I thought about like maybe like I don't know. I was playing so quietly though, and I thought about like, you know what? Maybe I should just like play and just like, because there's like this old man that lives across the street from me, and he's got Alzheimer's, and he like doesn't know what's going on. It's like, you know what, maybe I should just go over there, 6 feet away, of course, social distancing, guys, and just play for him.
Yeah, definitely. That's such a kind thought. I think that, yeah, I think music is definitely therapeutic. And I feel that singing, I did choir for my entire middle school, high school, and
Cool.
I'm kind of upset that I dropped off in college.
Oh.
But I did choir for all that time. And I think that like singing is just so therapeutic,
Yes.
and playing music and hearing music is just
Yes.
so therapeutic.
Absolutely.
Have you gone into music therapy? Were you considering it?
I thought about it in high school, but I feel like, I don't know, like the real music therapy. This sounds like kind of selfish, I guess, but like the real music therapy, I guess, is for like my own self, just like when I write songs, and um, I definitely get a therapeutic experience when I listen to music. But I definitely
Yeah.
did think about going into a program. To be completely honest with you, I'm not entirely sure what music therapy like formally entails. So I know you were telling me about Dane, the producer, was doing the music therapies, which is awesome and so admirable. But at the time where I was deciding what to do, I just like music therapy sounded like such a vague term to me. I'm like, I'm not even sure what that means.
Yeah. And for context for people, art and music therapy is basically people who have psychology and art degrees, and they can go to the doctorate level and they can go to the master's level as well. And what they do is they provide services like it's normal therapy, but it's with the inclusion of music, it's with the inclusion of art. So it could be anything from playing different instruments for different people. With like anxiety is smoother music, and depression is another type of music. I'm being very vague, but that's basically what it encompasses. And then art therapy is also another way that people are coping with things. Like I know a lot of people that are art therapists that work with people who have gone through traumatic experiences, and veterans, and they work with people like those people to filter out their experiences and help them cope and understand and move forward. So that's what art and music therapy is. But yeah, but then again, like in these times, as we were talking before the podcast, we're really starting to see how crucial art and music are to our society and to our culture.
Yes, absolutely. Remy and I were just talking about how most people don't realize how much art and media and music you're exposed to. Like you turn on the TV, and literally everything you see is like a fully thought out, produced production with musicians, actors, and just everything. Just some people don't even think like, oh yeah, this is a thing. Even commercials.
Yeah, commercials definitely are a whole thing. When I was working at an advertising agency, it would take a month to pump out one commercial. And
Wow.
that's just like filming. And then actually no, filming's like only a week. The editing and everything else is like a month or 2 months.
Wow.
And yeah, and so so you're sewing, you're drawing.
Yeah.
What are your themes? Do you have any themes?
Any themes? Like themes in terms of what exactly?
Themes in terms of like, are you focusing on the theme of love? Are you focusing
Oh,
on the theme of spring? Are you like
sure.
what are you trying to like gauge yourself like that?
Yes. I guess like spring and just like self-care. I feel like, just speaking personally, there was like a lot of stuff going on before, like I said, the world came to a halt, and I just feel like sometimes it would feel like I would be just like careening through everything, just this constant motion, and I just feel like I didn't have any time to catch my breath. And so that's one kind of nice byproduct of the quarantine, is that like you have time to relax. Like the other day, me and my brother, we got really absorbed into doing this puzzle, and it was like so it was so therapeutic, as simple as that sounds. Just time to relax and do nothing.
I think that, yeah, this is definitely showing us that we can live a simpler life, and that we can
Yes.
live definitely just enjoying the little things like family and friends from a distance, but also a lot of creative people, like I said earlier, they're doing a lot of internal searching. And and as a musician, I just know that, like me, I'm an interdisciplinary artist. I do graphic design, I do sculpture, I do, like, I have an interest in biodesign and all these concepts for designing for the future. But my question to you would be, is there a way that your music, does it bleed over into drawing? Does it bleed over into sewing? Is there something, how does your music carry into those other art forms?
Well, I feel like, like music and art, and I guess even sewing too, it's all like vibes to me. So I feel like, like even with that dress I just showed you, it was supposed to go to like, to be like a certain vibe that like maybe, and I see like every show like an opportunity is to like to do something new, to present your music in like a new way, and just like the vibe at the time, and just like all of those elements just help capture like the vibe at the time. And even just like in drawing and stuff, like I've been really into like anime, obviously, because like what else is there to do? Like just catching up on the anime, and shows like Adventure Time, Steven Universe, which I love so much. And
there's a lot of music in that show.
yes, oh my god, and it's all so good.
In Steven Universe, there's a lot of music. So for those of you who don't know what Steven Universe is a show about this little boy that's raised by these aliens, but at the same time, the aliens are crystal gems, and they basically, it's like a kid's show, but it talks about some real controversial topics, and it teaches kids how to cope with a lot of heavy emotions. And a lot of that is actually expressed through song.
Yes, and like all the songs are written by this person, the show producer and runner, Rebecca Sugar, and she's fantastic, and all the songs are so good. It sounds like such a weird premise for a show, but it's so good. Like, please, if you're listening, just check it out.
Absolutely. They have some who plays Garnet? I forgot her name.
Estelle.
Estelle. Oh my god. I just totally blanked. I just call her Garnet whenever I hear it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Garnet.
Oh yeah, Garnet's thing.
But I know, because it's just that
it's like, who wrote American Boy? That's Garnet.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's how music transfers into there. So music definitely transfers into what you watch and what you consume.
Oh yeah,
digitally, media wise,
and vice versa. So, I'll get inspired by like Adventure Time or Steven Universe or whatever,
Yeah. What does so how does it go into your drawing then? That's something I'm very interested in.
Oh, well, I feel like, I'm working on this thing. I'm working on a zine, and I've never done anything like this, so I'm certainly, like, I guess a little bit shy about it, but I do want to make a zine that just talks about creativity and stuff. And like I think I relate a lot to like expressions, and I love drawing people, and whether it's hyper realistic or it's like the anime style, like if I'm feeling a certain way, I'll just like draw a character in an expression. And in the zine I'm working on, like the first edition, I the front cover is like a girl, and like her thoughts are like all watercolory and stuff. And yeah, so I just love like expressions and people.
That's excellent. Yeah, no, zines are definitely a great way of communicating a point. And it's such an interesting form because it's print, right? It's print, but it's so DIY and do it yourself.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I taught a zine workshop to a group of kids through this local, through the Wickham Works Makerspace this summer. It's a local non-for-profit up in the Hudson Valley. And these kids were so excited to be making zines, because zines are literally so easy. You can go and you can find a YouTube tutorial, and you can literally just, draw a bunch of things on all these different pages, print like 50 copies, and go drop them off at a local cafe, and suddenly everybody knows you. Because I saw that you were featured a couple months back. You were featured in a zine. I remember reading about it, and I remember seeing the posts, and I liked those posts. But yeah, so continue.
Oh, sorry. It was that zine, by the way, is called Proto Matter, and it's by this really talented Montclair artist named Barbara Rokas, and she's just like really interesting visuals, and like a little bit of like political, thought-provoking, like existentialism, just like all that stuff. So she's really cool. But
The definition of a zine.
Right? Yeah.
That's what they all are for the most part at this point.
Yes, which is like so cool. And I was thinking about doing it like online, especially that the world came to an end, Well, not an end, a stop.
Yeah, it came to a pause.
A pause, yeah.
Definitely a time of pause.
Yeah.
And creative people, these being gigless, now we have, the time to, especially as a creative person, I feel that the arts are very, especially if you have a job or a profession in the arts, not everyone comes from a supportive household. Not everybody comes from an understanding household or an understanding background. So when people say that, like, oh, I'm leaving this job to take some time for myself, to focus on my craft, it comes off as very selfish, and it comes off as very, what are you doing? You're stopping working, like, especially in this American system of consistently having to produce. So going back to yourself mentally, do you think that this time of pause, that because now you're exploring sewing, you're exploring drawing, you're exploring making your own zine, which is very exciting.
Thank you.
Do you think that this is like, now you got the society's okay to take a pause?
Well, yeah, there's that. I mean, it's also like, for me, the biggest thing was it removes the fear of, this sounds so lame, but it removes the fear of FOMO, like fear of missing out. Like, I've kind of wanted to take a pause, especially on social media, because you know what, Instagram, I love Instagram, but it drives me crazy. It's addicting, and I just feel like before you know it, you spent 5 hours on your phone in a day. And
oh, absolutely.
That's the antithesis of like creativity, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like my therapist actually told me that the younger generation is actually experiencing more anxiety because on their phone they get instant answers from Google, or they get instant gratification on Instagram. I mean, we all get instant gratification and satisfaction from our phones, but the fact of the matter is that these kids, while they're learning their crucial building skills, and problem solving skills, it gets them anxious because they're not finding out the answers as fast as, their phones are giving them the answers. Yeah. So I think that that's as an artist, and especially as a musician with someone who has to practice, how have you felt about the digital age? Because you're how old?
I'm 24.
You're 24. We're the same age.
Yes,
so
high five.
High five. Through the Zoom call, we didn't touch. Don't worry.
Nope, no touching.
But how did you? So you were born in '95. How did you see the age of, and especially as a teacher now? Yeah. How do you see the age of technology with music?
The age of technology with music. So starting like 2009, like everyone had the MySpace. That was really cool. And I feel like MySpace was even kind of creative. You can like do your own page layout. Like everyone had spent at least like an hour of their life like just doing their MySpace like thing, and like you can make a playlist, and that was like super, super creative. Facebook, I find to be the most like, Facebook and Instagram for me as an artist like are probably the most useful like promotional tools, because like Facebook you can join like a bigger group. Like I'm a part of a group called NJ DIY. And it's like just like a whole community of just like statewide DIY artists. And so you can kind of like post what you're doing, see what other people are doing, get gigs, stuff like that. Instagram is cool, but it's just like the only thing is that like, with the algorithms and stuff, it's so hard to get noticed sometimes. And because like everybody is just putting like their every, you take a picture on Instagram of the Coke you're drinking and,
Yes. Absolutely. So the whole boom of the whole SoundCloud rapper, let's take that. That's like my idea.
Sure.
Do you think that we're going to have, after this pandemic, do you think that we're going to have another wave of do-it-yourself musicians that, become mainstream? How the same way that all these like, Trippie Redd and like 6ix9ine and all these other weirdos. Do you think that there's going to be another boom of people in the music space?
I would hope so, especially that, like, I would especially hope that people during this time, like, can even be like acquainted with their creativity better, and like, maybe they played the flute in fourth grade and they're bored, so maybe they'll just whip their flute out and start playing a tune or something again. But I definitely think, like, there's something so like democratic about the DIY community, and like there's just something like you can just do it. Like when I was like 10 years old, I thought like, oh, to be an artist, like you have to be selected, into this group of elites. And then I found out in college, it's like, no, you don't. You can just do it.
Yeah, there's a really big, especially both of us have degrees in the arts, and we both hold, a bachelor's and an associate's in the arts. So we are people coming from an academic background in the arts, but we also understand that the arts is a place and a space of access to all. At least that's what we want it to be, you and I.
Absolutely. You know what? Also, there's just like, for example, there's so many good, like, if you want to learn an instrument, there's so many good tutorials on YouTube and stuff. Like one of my piano students, her name is Esperanza. Shout out to Esperanza. And she, before she came to me, she like learned a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube. And so I'm supplying her like more like technique and more like academic based stuff. But you can get just like such good stuff online. You can learn so much. You can take classes online, like Skillshare and websites like that. And I definitely think there might be a boom of towards websites like that, like Skillshare and stuff during this time,
Definitely. So we're almost at our time cap. So I wanted to say, so just rehash again, what are your new projects, or what are the things that you're going to be focusing on during this?
During this, I'm definitely going to be focusing on the zine. It's like I said, I'm like so intimidated because this goes not against my identity, but I just feel like, so I've never done anything like that before. So I'm like so nervous about it, and I'll write something and then I'll delete it and I'll throw it up and crumble it. And I'll just do that a million times. And
well, that's because you went to music school.
Yeah, exactly.
You always had that critique. You always had that critic in the back of your head.
Yes.
And just so you know, when I taught that zine workshop to that group of kids, they were all teenagers. They were all preteens. I was so intimidated. I sketched something like in 5 seconds, and I thought it looked horrendous. And they're like, "Oh my God, this girl!" She literally went up to it. She's like, "Remi, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life." And I was like, it was just like, I literally drew this to give you guys an example. so literally zines, just do it. Just do it. Like Nike. They are not, there's no critic back there.
Yeah.
You're your own critic. You're free. You graduated. You have
Yes, I graduated. Yeah. So there's
so there's a zine and
there's a zine. So we're hoping, okay, so the show that we had for April 9th, we're definitely going to postpone it, especially that the person who was really in charge of the show was my friend Josh and Ethan from Cherie at the Beach. They're a really cool like indie rock type of group, and they're having their debut show with all these really cool acts that I mentioned in the beginning. And so that's definitely going to be postponed. We're definitely probably going to try to resume momentum. Just us as a band, we were really just like growing really fast, and we had lots of gigs. We're going to postpone the live session we were supposed to do, and just like musically as people, like we were just trying to like grow past all these kind of like naiveties of like being in a band and being an artist and stuff like that, like just like take everything to the next level and just make the content as good as it can be, perform as good as we can.
Absolutely. And so would you do me a giant favor, and after this is recorded and you're live and your episode is up, can you send a copy of this episode of this podcast to all the people that you shouted out, so we can probably interview them or get them on this, because that would be very interesting to have all these different people on
very
there
happy
that
to
have
do
lost
that.
their gigs. Yeah, because again, Gigless is a podcast that is focusing on people who lost their gigs due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and these are people that their main source of income was their creative genius, so I can understand, like, if you're a restaurant worker, you worked in the service industry, or you had like some kind of part-time job to support your creative career, then you're definitely welcome on the show as well. But we do want to focus on people who are primarily trying to make a career, make a paying career out of art and music and entertainment.
What about students?
Students, if you're a student, then that's fine. But if it, like, Dane is a student, our co-producer is a student, but his main source of income was all like teaching music. His income was all based on gigs, essentially. So that's why we partnered up. Cool. But yeah, no, thank you so much, Melissa, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm so excited to see your next gig when we get out of this, and I'm so excited to see what you make.
Oh, thank you so much.
I never knew. We learned so much about each other. I didn't
know
that
we
did. Like, I'm still so fascinated about all your other talents besides music. Like, that's just so interesting. I really do. I really cannot wait for the rest.
Oh, thank you so much. You should teach me how to give me some zine tips one day.
Oh, I definitely will. I'll send you the one YouTube video that I use for everything.
Yes.
But definitely, and you get coffee with them, so they're cute. All right, so thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Gigless Podcast, hosted by Remi Leibovic and produced by Dane Wagner. The song used for our intro and outro is Beach Walk by Unicorn Heads. If you enjoyed this podcast, head over to our social media pages on Instagram at Gigless Podcast and at our website, giglesspodcastblog.wordpress.com. There, you can find out more about the artist, contact the hosts and producers, and find out more about our schedule. Thank you.